Hello, Ace Nation. I am longtime independent wrestling fan Robert. Redemption 2022 is in the history books and quite a way for Ace Pro Wrestling to kick off the new year. We start out with singles action as we see Dr. Cool Jay Clang as he defeated the debuting Crimson Rose or Crimson Rogue Vincent Michaels, who was billed from Teaneck, New Jersey. Not sure he really is from that hometown. Next up was a four-way fight for flight match, which saw Josh Glide versus the returning Chris Taylor versus Love Jones versus the returning Mouse. It was great seeing Chris Taylor in Ace for the first time in years. Uh, the end result was Love Jones defeated Chris Taylor, Josh Glide, and Mouse to win the Fight for Flight four-way match. Next up in singles competition was the debut Johnny Santos, or is it Johnny Santos, who was smoking a hookah to the ring, as he went one-on-one with Mike Anthony, and the end result, Johnny Santos defeated Mike Anthony. Next up, we had the Great Scots, Kyle Angus and above average Joe Scott defending their tag team championship against the Caveman and the Monkey King Dio. Deep into the matchup, Kyle Angus wanted Joe Scott to tag him, but Joe Scott stepped off the apron and basically walked away from the match. Caveman and Dio took advantage, and Caveman and Dio defeated the Great Scots to become the new Ace Pro Wrestling Tag Team Champions. Then the match that we knew would be brutal as the Jurassic Juggernaut Vince Steele defeated the Saint of Brutality Broly, or some call him Brawley, in a dog collar match where both these men bled. They had looked like a heavy chain they used for that dog collar, which Vince Steele got caught on, so he couldn't be, he wasn't, he was already there, but well before I got to the show. This was a hectic, brutal matchup, which saw Vince Steele defeat Broly in the dog collar match as Vince Steele used a spin kick the chair into Broly and pinned him to win the matchup. And at that point, it did go to intermission. It's a good thing too because there was blood spilled in the ring and so messy. Okay, next up we saw a great singles match as the lit superstar Sebastian Cage defeated Trey Felipe. Alright, right after that we have a great solo match of Bulldog Pittman against Cade Lothbrock, in which Cade Lothbrock put down Bulldog Pittman with that Gangrel DDT. That's what I was trying to say. Cade Lockbrock defeated Bulldog Pittman to win the match. He used that Gangrel style DDT to get the victory. Next was a great singles matchup as we saw the good guy Azrael take on one above all Anthony Gangone. I really thought this was a good matchup. Anthony Gangone ended up pinning Azrael as he put him away with that move the late Jimmy Rave was known for. I think it was called gonorrhea. Actually, move Jimmy Rave used in Ring of Honor long ago. Up next is a triple threat match as Dominic De Niro and Rob Vegas faced the wrestling's richest prize and the All-Father, Darius Carter, for the Diamond Division Championship. And Dominic De Niro, he made Rob Vegas tap out to the Border City Stretch and to become the new Diamond Division champion, enabling him to defeat both Vegas and Carter. After the match, Carter tried to attack Dominic from behind, but De Niro was right there ready for him, and then Carter walked out of the ring. Then it was main event time as Dan Moff challenged Absolute Alvin for the heavyweight championship. Ring announcer Ryan Peterson was doing the introductions. Moff demanded that Cheyenne Ortiz, who was commentating the show with John Harder and Classic Mikey D, and to introduce Moff. And eventually the match got underway, and Moff was chasing Alvin out of the ring. At one point, Alvin grabbed the championship belt. He went back to the curtain. Moff goes around the set through another curtain that's not where the wrestlers would come to and from the ring for the matches. And we hear the sound of a chair hitting somebody in the back, and Alvin comes out writhing in pain. And at one point, Moff posted Alvin on the guardrails and chopped him and kept headbutting him to the point where Alvin wound up falling over the rail and into the crowd. Eventually, they were back in the ring. It was Moff had Alvin up for the burning hammer, but he did it had him on his shoulders, and Alvin's leg knocked the referee down. And then Moff was bumping into the ropes, but Moff ended up knocking the referee down, knocked the referee out of the ring. Alvin pulled out what seemed to be something wrapped in tape, presumably brass knuckles, in his singlet, and it knocks Moff down. Goes for the cover, but there's no referee. The other referee comes out. He goes to make a count, but Moff kicks out. Eventually, I think Moff had I can't remember what Moff. He really had his way, but then out from the crowd came someone who people didn't recognize. He had a hood over his head, and he goes after Moff, and he hits. I forgot, was it him, or he handed the championship belt to Alvin, and he hits Moff in the head with it, and the original referee gets up, and Alvin pins Dan Moff to retain the heavyweight championship. After the match was over, Alvin and this man, who turned out was none other than Tristan Law, I'm not sure what independent promotion he wrestled for in the past, because I was able to hear Harder, Ortiz, and Classic Mikey D on commentary say who he is. Both Law and Alvin are doing a number on Moff until Cade Lockbrock hits the ring. And Lockbrock gets the microphone from Ryan Peterson, and, he talks about Alvin, you keep shooting your mouth off on Facebook all the time. He says, me and Moff, we were here for the good times, we were here for the bad times in this company, and you holding the belt is an insult, and Lockbrock challenged Alvin and Law for a tag team match right then and there. And Alvin wanted the microphone, and Lothbrok saying, "I'm not giving you the microphone." And eventually, he tried to call Cheyenne to the ring to get the microphone to give it to Alvin, so Alvin could accept the challenge. But Alvin said, "Oh, I only got paid." He said he referred to he said Mike Morgan. He said I didn't, Mike Morgan. He called Mike Morgan saying he had cheap pockets, and then you hear, "Hold on a second." Mike Morgan come out from the curtain, and he says, "Who are you calling cheap pockets?" And he's like mocking Alvin, like he's stuttering and stuff, and Morgan referred to Alvin as DJ Scratch and Sniff. I mean, now that I crack up over that, so did the original referee of the match, and we actually fist bumped over that. Uh, and Morgan, I, I forgot what he said next, but he ended up saying, next month, you know, we will have a tag match with you guys. And Morgan announced himself as a special guest enforcer, which is taking place at the very next Ace Pro Wrestling event, Hero Celebration, Saturday night, February 12th, which is usually a tribute show for the memory of Mike Morgan Jr. Uh, so that's how the show ended. And and we already have a match announced for the next event. Personal notes time. It was great seeing Mike Morgan, Denise, Ryan Peterson, welcome back, Cheyenne, uh, Stella. I don't know why, but Stella and her daughter Novi, they left the show before the main event. I don't know if they just wanted to take a bus back to New York City, or they were getting tired, or they were getting bored with the show. Um, Speaking of, transportation, I actually took the NJ Transit 175 bus from the George Washington bus terminal. Unfortunately, I got off the bus 2 stops too soon, and I was walking in the cold. But luckily, by the time I had gotten to the building, they had already opened the door. And um, if I didn't have my bag with me, I don't think Denise would have recognized me when I came in. And speaking of which, um, when I when I was figuring out what food I'd like to have, um, Denise, I noticed you had a paper in your hand and mentioned who bought online. I noticed my name. Was that your handwriting, or was it somebody else's? I ended up buying a chicken sandwich, and look, a big piece of chicken got put on that bun, and had a good pizza empanada. Hmm. Okay. And by the way, the show was scheduled to start at 7:30. It didn't start till 8 p.m. I was wondering why we didn't see Mike Donovan, the Brooklyn Outlaw. He was scheduled to wrestle Dominic De Niro. I wonder why he was unable to make the show. And we also, not there, was the current Fight for Flight champion, the Slam Burglar, Rob Chase. Uh, all right. As mentioned earlier, Ace Pro Wrestling returns with Hero Celebration Saturday, February 12th from the Knights of Columbus in Teaneck, New Jersey. Already announced, Dan Moff and Cade Lothbrok take on Absolute Alvin and Tristan Law with Mike Morgan as special guest enforcer. I don't know if there'll be a one night tournament for the Mike Morgan Jr. Memorial Cup, or how they're gonna honor that the late young man earlier this year. I mean, the late Mike Jr. this year. I would like to see maybe Ryan Angerson one-on-one with above average Joe Scott. Dominic De Niro defending his newly won Diamond Division Championship. I don't know who we want to put him against. Uh, the crowd wasn't much, unfortunately. I don't know. It's due to the fact because Wrestlers Lab ran in Ridgefield Park, New Jersey. Catalyst Wrestling ran in Brooklyn, and Warriors of Wrestling was in Staten Island. Um, yeah, Stella. I don't know if if what show you're going to go to February 12th, because aside from Ace, House of Glory is running in Queens. Man. Ugh. Oh, I forgot. It was great seeing Sharon, by the way. Kenny. Uh, when the show was winding down, I was saying to Sharon, all we need is a bigger crowd. I mean, it seemed like Awaken in October and Rise to Power in November. Those two shows had bigger crowds compared to this event, Redemption 2022. So I don't know what went wrong. I don't know if the cold weather scared people or they were home watching wild card football. I'm not sure. But while I'm on the subject, Mike Morgan, any word if there's going to be a show in the month of March? Because I would like to know what date that's happening. Eh, but Redemption 2022, great way to start the year off, and things are really looking up for Ace Pro Wrestling, especially with a main event already announced for Hero Celebration. So this was a good one. Ace, 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 ace.